Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Shaheen Bagh has become synonymous with protest, blockade and resistance. Some would say that it is often without any cause, as was the case today. An anti-encroachment drive whipped up tensions in Shaheen Bagh and a fierce political storm. As civic authorities rolled in bulldozers to raise illegal encroachments, their path was blocked by a sit-in dharna. Politicians swooped in to fish in troubled waters. AAP MLA stood as a shield against the bulldozers. Congress and Owaisi's leaders and supporters joined the protest, while the left parties knocked on the apex court's door. They contended that the BJP is furthering its political agenda by openly targeting Muslims. They linked into the impending civic body elections in the national capital. What was supposed to be a routine drive against encroachment, which has happened in various parts of the capital, fizzled into token symbolism, with shopkeepers themselves dismantling their own extensions which had encroached on footpaths. Listen in to how the opposition jumped to defend Shaheen Bagh and made a spectacle of themselves by questioning a process of law.
अब कोई अगर इंक्रोचमेंट है, ये तो पेड़ी बंधी हुई है, एक आदमी सफेद ही कर रहा है, वो पेड़ी बंधी हुई है, ये अब एक दिन पहले बांधी है, अब इसे भी मैं खुद हटवा रहा हूँ, इसे भी खुद हटवा रहा हूँ। जब यहाँ इंक्रोचमेंट है ही नहीं तो क्यों हिंदू मुसलमान करने आओ यार, ये तो बताओ। ये रोड पीडब्ल्यूडी का है, अगर कहीं इंक्रोच है तो बताओ, मैं साफ करा दूंगा। ये खंबा लगा हुआ है, ये खंबा लगा हुआ है, यहाँ कौन सी सड़क चलती है, ये खुद मैंने हटवाया यहाँ से।
इस तरह से मीडिया हाइप क्रिएट करके जो नफरत, हेट्रेड फैलाई जा रही है बुलडोजर के नाम पे, वो शाहीन बाग नहीं होने देगी। सिर्फ ये लोगों के जहन में है कि शाहीन बाग में बुलडोजर चला दो ताकि भाजपा का अपना वोट इंटैक्ट हो जाए, क्योंकि भाजपा एमसीडी चुनाव हारती हुई देख रही है, कहीं ना कहीं उनकी साख खत्म हुई है।
ये जानबूझकर सांप्रदायिकता फैलाना चाहते हैं, मुसलमानों को टारगेट करना चाहते हैं, अपने जो बहुसंख्यक वोट है, इनका जो हिंदू वोटर है उसको खुश करना चाहते हैं, उनको दिखाना चाहते हैं कि देखिए हमने मुसलमानों को घर बर्बाद कर दिया, उनकी दुकानें बर्बाद कर दी, उनका रोजगार बर्बाद कर दिया, ताकि उनकी कमर टूटे और उनका बहुसंख्यक वोट खुश हो।
Now this Shaheen Bagh template is seen repeating itself, much to the ire of the courts in this country. Back in 2020, when the dadis of Shaheen Bagh indefinitely hit the streets in protest against the CAA law, the top court had observed that democracy and dissent go hand in hand, but not in the manner in which the protests were going on back then. They said dissent was going rogue when streets were blocked for days and weeks on end. The following year, the Supreme Court once again came down heavily on these protests that were causing immense inconvenience to the Aam Aadmi. The court observed that prolonged protests cannot occupy public and affect the rights of other common people. And today, as well, as the left parties took their fight to the Supreme Court, wanting a stay on the demolition drive, the judge asked them what their locus standi was in this particular case. A clear message was sent that the top court of this country cannot be used as a political platform or a tool. The CPM was forced to withdraw its petition on the directions of the Supreme Court. The BJP now claims vindication, pointing to this rebel without a cause template of the ecosystem. Listen in.
Today, a supreme blow has been delivered to the Dishahin lobby and ecosystem that tries to politicize and communalize everything that is done, whether it's the anti-encroachment drive, whether it's the order on hijab and uniforms, whether it is the loudspeaker order, or whether it is uniform civil code. Today, the Supreme Court has chastised the left party for trying to use the platform of the court for politics on the encroachment drive. The Dishahin ecosystem of Congress and Aam Aadmi Party tried to obstruct the process of law, tried to give it a communal spin. This shows that in the need for vote bank politics and appeasement politics, a victimhood card is pulled out by them every time action is taken on an illegal encroachment.
और मैं तो कहता हूं कि जब भारत का कानून संविधान लागू ही नहीं होने दे रहे हैं तो इन जगहों को क्या कहा जाएगा? ये तो छोटे छोटे मिनी पाकिस्तान जगह जगह बनते जा रहे हैं, दिल्ली में और देश में भी कई जगह पर।
So the legitimate question we are asking on the NewsHour tonight, is appeasement bulldozing law in Shaheen Bagh? That's the question and that's the debate. Shaheen Bagh blocks bulldozer. That's the hashtag and the debate on the other side.
You're watching the News Hour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
And joining the debate tonight, Gaurav Bhatia, national spokesperson of the BJP, Dr Anand Ranganathan, author, Dr Rahmani, president of MPCI, Kamru Chaudhary, leader of the Congress party, Ashutosh, political analyst. But my first question goes to Saira Shah Halim, leader of the CPM. And Saira Shah Halim, my question to you is, big snub from the Supreme Court? What is the locus standi of the CPM to go to Shaheen Bagh, virtually, sit down on a dharna in front of bulldozers? Such activities take part in all parts of the country. Tamil Nadu, there have been encroachments there that have been brought down. There is Rajasthan, there is Mumbai. Why is Shaheen Bagh becoming almost like a pilgrimage for all political parties that are looking at resurrecting their politics? Because Shaheen Bagh just happens to denote something. Saira Shah.
See, I will tell you one thing very clear, that here all the opposition parties, whether it was the CPIM, whether it was the Congress, whether it was the AAP, were standing in unison against this very, very divisive act of bulldozing their completely communal politics over the heads of the poorest section of society, over the heads of the minorities of the country that happen to be Muslim. And here most of the people, okay, they work in unorganized sectors. Most of them are scavengers. They are shopkeepers. They own small business. This is to derive them of their livelihood. This is to derive them of the roof over their heads. I'm very glad that CPIM and the other political parties stood by the oppressed people and gave a resounding answer to the Bharatiya Janata Party that is keen on dividing the people of India on communal grounds. Because here, this is a targeted campaign. Who is going to get affected? The minorities of India are going to get affected. Who is going to get affected? The poorest section of India is interested. If they are so interested in this anti-encroachment drive, why don't we start the drive from Sainik Farms? Why don't we start the drive from Vasant Vihar, East Kailash, or Greater Kailash? Then there are golf links. Here, I'm sure the rich and the educated will definitely support this anti-encroachment drive because they're educated people, they're rich people. Why experiment on the poorest section of society? Why experiment on the Muslims of the country who are anyway cornered, who have been pushed into a corner? Well, so I'm glad
Gaurav
that
Bhatia, is that the logic that you should go to other affluent colonies and not to Shaheen Bagh because it shows that you're going against the minorities in this country? Well, if I remember correctly, there are 40 colonies that have been earmarked, but Saira Shah Halim's heart only bleeds for Shaheen Bagh.
This is not a new trait. This is the kind of pseudo secularism that these people practice. And it's so ironical. People who were saying that we do not accept CAA, a validly passed law, Navika, और हम कागज नहीं दिखाएंगे, are now saying हमारे कागज कोई देख नहीं रहा है. Or they are saying, Navika, all these authorities should show us the paper on which the notice has been issued, which has been duly issued. But the point here is very simple. She can name the Bharatiya Janata Party, but what about the Supreme Court turning down this politically interested litigation and reprimanding the party, left party, and telling them to go to the Delhi High Court and telling them also not to politicize the issue? But I see a panelist here doing the very same thing, not only politicizing, but Navika, communalizing. I didn't know that encroachment is secular, but bulldozers are communal. Following the law of the land is communal. And it is so sad that she is calling all Muslims as encroachers. So if an encroachment drive takes place and all these political parties come out and say you're targeting Muslims, that means you are telling everybody that Muslims are encroachers. I object to such a statement. My third point is that, you know,
Mr.
people like
Adesh
Amanatullah
Gupta
Khan, they come out,
party,
and Navika today
Mr.
you have
Adesh
seen.
Gupta has called the minorities Rohingyas.
Please ask her to be quiet. Please ask her to be civilized.
Mr. Adesh Gupta
Please ask her to be
called
civilized.
the Muslims Rohingyas.
Please ask her to be civilized.
All right, Saira Shah Ali, nobody interrupted
Navika,
you when you
is
were
not
speaking.
fair.
Allow him to make his point and then you can come in.
Yes. Navika, now, you know, whether it is the left, the Congress party, and whether it is Amanatullah Khan, these people come out. You know, I heard Amanatullah Khan, he's making most absurd statement. What did he say? I brought in my own JCB and then I demolished the illegal encroachment, as if he is the constitution of the land. And he is the same Amanatullah who had declared that Tahir Hussain is innocent and he's being targeted because he's a Muslim. So for them, India should be that even if you are pelting stones and you happen to be a Muslim, no action should be taken. If they are illegal immigrants like Rohingya, but they are Muslim, they should not be thrown out of the country. If it is a terrorist like Afzal Guru and he happens to be a Muslim, then he should not be hanged because it is judicial killing. You know, their way of thinking itself is not in sync with what the modern India thinks. And I will only say this, that this is not selective targeting of any community, because after Shaheen Bagh, the schedule says New Friends Colony, Lodi Road, Amar Colony, Kalindi Kunj are the other colonies where this drive would be carried out. So is the panelists trying to say that all these colonies belong only to the Muslims and not to people of other religions?
That's the question I want to ask Kamru Zaman Chaudhary. Kamru Zaman Chaudhary, you know, Shaheen Bagh, because it is Muslims, are you saying no Hindus live there, and in other colonies only Hindus live, no Muslims live there? So you can do what you want in New Friends Colony, you can do what you want in Lajpat Nagar, in Amar Colony, but you can't follow the law in Shaheen Bagh. You know, what kind of politics is this? What kind of a interpretation of law is this? Number two, in Chennai, a 60-year-old man self-immolated himself and died because there was an eviction by the Water Resource Department, and it is your government. You and DMK run a joint government in Tamil Nadu. How come none of you decided to bother about this man who lost his life? And how come in Alwar, Rajasthan, 85 houses and shops were razed because there was an anti-encroachment drive that was going on in Alwar? Congress regime there, just in case you've forgotten. Once again, Muthanakolam in Tamil Nadu, 125-year-old illegal temple was demolished. Once again, by the Congress DMK regime, because a smart city project is coming up. Chandni Chowk's Hanuman temple was brought down in January 2021. आप लोगों में से किसी को दर्द नहीं हुआ? वो भी तो मंदिर गिरा. Nobody came to the streets. Nobody lay down in front of the bulldozers. Why, sir? Hindus, you don't feel any pain for them? Only for Shaheen Bagh Muslims you feel the pain? Why, sir, Kamru Zaman Chaudhary? Why is there so much of appeasement in the name of just implementation of the law, Mr. Kamru Zaman Chaudhary?
Yeah, good evening, Navika. A long question for me. Okay, I hope you have the patience to listen to the answers. First and foremost, we never said that Shaheen Bagh, or for that matter Jahangir Puri, is completely Muslim dominated or Muslims only live there. Is the citizens of the country who are from the marginalized and the poor who live there. Now, having said that, even if a demolition drive has been going out, follow the due process of the law. That is the Congress party stand. You must be very clear of that. Now, we are seeing a game plan that is there, and what Gaurav Bhatia has said, rightly said, there is a pseudo appeasement. But there's a difference and a catch that lies out here, the pseudo appeasement of the majority that the BJP is doing. Now, why I say this, today in the Supreme Court, the Delhi Municipal Corporation representative, when the case was heard for the CPM, for the case that was filed with the CPM, there they said, we do not have any plans of a bulldozer action in Shaheen Bagh today. Then why the hell the bulldozer landed up in Shaheen Bagh in the first place? Why there were no demolitions in Shaheen Bagh? Because the people out there realized, okay, an encroachment is illegal, that need to be removed. The people very duly followed the process of law and they removed it. Now you consider the sequence of events over the last few days on Shaheen Bagh. A few very prominent BJP Twitter handles have been tweeting something about Bangladeshis in Shaheen Bagh who happens to be Rohingya according to them. Further investigation found out these Bangladeshi people, they were on a transit visa waiting for their visa because of the VFS global visa that they were waiting out there. Now you paint a picture out there that okay, Shaheen Bagh is a den of Rohingyas, these people need to be taught a lesson. You are afraid of the 14% of the population and you say that Hindu khatra hai because of the 14%. You must also remember the National Health Survey that came out which showed the total fertility rate of the Muslims has come down drastically from the last few decades. That's a very
Mr. Kamru Zaman Chaudhary, Mr. Kamru Zaman Chaudhary, from the percentage of the minority to their fertility rate आप चले गए हो. Fertility rate तक आपने बात पहुंचा दी, but you don't want to talk about the law of the land.
Bulldozer,
you know, the law of the land should not. And bulldozers have come in and the shopkeepers are removing. I think because the bulldozers went in there, the shopkeepers removed. And will you decide? And Dr Anand Ranganathan, will Kamru Zaman Chaudhary and his party, which has 0 seats in Delhi, decide where a bulldozer should go, which law should be implemented in what form, in which locality of Delhi? His party with 0 seats should be making those decisions?
Navika, good evening to you. And that we are deciding where the bulldozer should be going. But if there is
1 minute, it's Dr Anand Ranganathan's, it is Dr Anand Ranganathan's call to speak now, Kamru Zaman Chaudhary.
We are very proud of Imran Pratapgarhi and the entire Okhla Congress unit.
Allow him to speak. Mr. Chaudhary, this is not a rally. Dr Anand Ranganathan. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chaudhary. I've been waiting and listening to you very patiently. I didn't interrupt you. Thank you. Navika, as far as your question is concerned, very briefly, मेरे हिंदी में कहावत है, मेरी हिंदी ज़्यादा strong है, लेकिन थोथा चना बाजे घना. तो 0 सीट हो या 1000 सीट हो कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता. इसको बोलना है, वो बोलेगा.
But Navika, let me come to this topic. You know, and I've said this before, I say it again. I have as a poor citizen of the country, I have a debit card. You have a credit card.
Gauravji has multiple credit cards with airport lounge facilities, and these people have a victim card. And the ATM, the pin of the victim card is that villa number in Diwar.
Jab chahiye hota hai, give that again, Peter dialogue of a victim card again.
You know, Navika, you have to, this is not right. This is not right. I could also comment on what Mr. Chaudhary was saying, which was scurrilous and silly arguments. If he has to interrupt me,
तो फिर आ जाए सामने आ जाए. घबरा के इंटरप्ट मत करिए कमरू ज़मान जी. आपकी आर्गुमेंट है ना बहुत बाकी.
आप बोलिए डॉक्टर आनंद रंगनाथन.
Yes, thank you. So Navika, the victim card is out in full flow. But the point here I want to make very quickly 2 points. Number 1, to my elder sister Sara ji. It's another matter that she is younger than me. The fact is tomorrow is going to be a demolition drive in New Friends Colony. Is her party going to go to the Supreme Court from here till midnight till tomorrow to get a stay on the demolition drive? If not, I want to ask her why not? Shaheen Bagh के लिए ही Supreme Court क्यों गए? कल New Friends Colony में वहाँ भी जाइए. और ये मैं I can show you the demolition drives that happen. This is Gulf News article that happen in Kerala right now. It is happening. They are not stopping it. The Kerala Communist government is conducting demolition drives in Thiruvananthapuram. You know, this kind of politicking on something which is a civic matter is shameful. But here I have to finally also, just Navika 30 seconds. गौरव जी ने बहुत अच्छी बात करी, कहने लगे, और इसमें मैं आपको भी थोड़ा कैस्टिगेट करूंगा, बिकॉज द पीपल हु आर बीइंग ब्लेम्ड ऑन दिस पैनल आर द Shaheen Baghi, which is very weird. Because I, for one, I apply the Anderson's razor. I don't blame the people who are committing a criminal offense. I blame the people whose job it is to actually enforce the law. और यहाँ पे मैं गौरव जी से पूछना चाहूंगा कि आप इतना उनको ब्लेम कर रहे हैं शहीन बागियों को, आपके बुलडोजर शांत क्यों हो गए? जब 1 साल पहले इलीगली रोड ब्लॉकेट किया हुआ था, आपने इलीगल रोड ब्लॉकेट हटाया क्यों नहीं? बार बार आप जो क्रिमिनल्स हैं उनको ब्लेम करते रहेंगे कब तक? You are the government, you are there to enforce the law. If you don't enforce the law, how the hell are you going to blame the criminals who are violating the law?
Well, before Gaurav Bhatia responds to that, this is a situation of catch-22. Karo to bhi maro, na karo to bhi maro. So, ek taraf se Dr Anand Ranganathan will whip you. On the other hand, there will be the Shaheen Baghis who will whip you. But Dr. T.A. Rehmani, I want to ask you, and I want to ask you, every time this whole thing, why are you making this Hindu, Mussalman? I just want to ask you, there is a law of the land. The law says, and this was said by the courts in 2010, that there is no notice required if there are encroachments. Here, everybody stands up and says, there is the notice, poor people. Are they only poor people who are breaking the law? And just because they are poor, they should be allowed to break the law. And the same then should be standing true for people in Kerala, people in Tamil Nadu, people in Rajasthan. Why is this whole thing about poor people being, literally bulldozed come up only in Shaheen Bagh? It's a question, Dr. Rehmani, that requires an answer. And if there is a law of the land, then the law of the land should also be applicable in the Gyanvapi Masjid, where the court has given an order and has said that people should be allowed inside, the commissioner should be allowed inside to do a survey. वहां तो अंदर जाने नहीं देंगे, यहां पर आके हाय तौबा. Why, Dr. Rehmani? Why?
After your such a long submission, may I ask you a very simple question?
No, sir.
Do you think
on
that
this
the
show,
anti-CAA,
I ask the questions, you answer them.
Was an illegal movement? No, I just want to understand, and then on the basis of your reply, I will reply you. Do you think that was an illegal movement?
Who am I to
Being
say whether
a proud Shaheen Baghi, I'm asking you.
I'm telling you, protest is fine, part of democracy, but you cannot hold other people to ransom. You cannot take away my rights because you are protesting. Yes, in which case it is illegal. If you sit on the road,
so the same way, the Kisan movement was also. Kisan movement was also. So
yes. Of course, Dr. Saab, please. कैसी बात कर रहे हैं आप, Dr.
Okay, so the same way the Kisan movement was also an illegal movement to which the government has succumbed.
No, please.
To which the government has succumbed to their demands. That was an illegal move by the government.
So that
it was an illegal move by the government.
So
that they have taken back all the three
you want to apply
laws.
pressure?
No, I just want to make the nation understand. No, it is not.
What is it then?
आप डेमोक्रेसी को क्राइम कहती हैं इस मुल्क में?
मैंने डेमोक्रेसी
ये बहुत अजीब बात है.
Don't twist, Dr. Rehmani. Don't twist my words. I said you can protest as much as you want, so long as you don't impact my freedoms. If you sit in the middle of a road and refuse to get up from there, then you are breaking the law.
Afterwards.
Because I want to use that road to drive my car. You are breaking the law.
Much bigger, much longer, much stronger protest by the Kisans of this country, and the government has to succumb to their demands. Isn't it a fact? Was that an illegal continuity of protest?
Well, my position on that is also very clear, Dr. Rehmani, that the government should not have succumbed.
That's where.
The government should not have succumbed even there. That is my position on the farm laws.
That is the discriminatory attitude. That is the discriminatory attitude. That in Shaheen Bagh you take
but what does that have to do with demolition? Dr. Anand Ranganathan is rebutting you.
Yes.
And that's why I said today.
Doctor, please.
No. Let me complete. Let me complete. I did not submit my statement. I did not. Navika, I did not submit my submission. You let me complete. Today in Shaheen Bagh, it was only a photo opportunity. It was only.
जवाब तो सुन लीजिए, आप ही ने सवाल उठाया था. आप ही ने सवाल उठाया था. आनंद रंगनाथन जवाब दे रहे हैं. सुन लीजिए.
मैं बिल्कुल सुनूंगा.
आनंद रंगनाथन.
सुनूंगा और जवाब भी दूंगा.
नहीं.
सुनूंगा और जवाब भी दूंगा. आपने पूछा था, उसके बेसिस पे आप जवाब देंगे, तो अब आप जवाब पहले सुनिए, फिर उसके बेसिस पे आप अपनी थीसिस बताइए. यस डॉक्टर आनंद रंगनाथन.
बिल्कुल. नहीं, मैं रहमानी साहब की बहुत इज्जत करता हूँ. इन्होंने एम्बुलेंसेज में बहुत ज्यादा काम किया. रहमानी साहब प्लीज, आपसे एक सिंपल सवाल.
कल को अगर मैं कोई प्रोटेस्ट करना चाहता हूं आपके अगेंस्ट, आपके घर का एंट्रेंस मैंने ब्लॉक कर दिया, 100 लोग जम गए घर के आगे 1 साल तक, क्या आपको अच्छा लगेगा? क्या आप कहेंगे वो लीगल है? बस ये बता दीजिए हाँ या ना.
ये सवाल आप गलत आदमी से पूछे हैं ना. ये आप किसान मूवमेंट के
नाविका देखिए, अब
ये था जिन्होंने पूरी
यही कह रहे थे.
आपका घर ही ब्लॉक किया हुआ था. आप ही का घर ब्लॉक किया हुआ था. वो मैंने तो किया नहीं था. ये सवाल उससे पूछो, और मैंने इसीलिए पूछा. और आज जो सुबह को
नहीं. रहमानी साहब प्लीज देखिए, 1 मिनट. आपने शुरू कैसे किया? आपने कहा कि क्या शहीन बाग लीगल था.
एनीवेज,
मैंने आपको सुप्रीम कोर्ट का जजमेंट कोट कर दिया. सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा है शहीन बाग ब्लॉकेड वाज इलीगल. सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा है. तो मैंने आपसे ये सवाल पूछा, अगर आप कह रहे हैं कि वो इलीगल नहीं था, अगर आप सुप्रीम कोर्ट को डिसरिगार्ड कर रहे हैं, तो आप इस सवाल का जवाब दे दीजिए. आपके घर के आगे मैं 100 लोग बिठा दूं,
इलीगल,
आपको ब्लॉक कर दूं, तो आपको ठीक लगेगा?
भी नहीं कहा, एक मर्तबा भी नहीं कहा. एनीवेज,
क्या बात कर रहे हैं? गौरव इज
मैं अब
कौन सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने
घर के बाहर किसी के पर्सनल प्रॉपर्टी को आप रोकेंगे? किसी के पर्सनल प्रॉपर्टी को तो रोकेंगे?
आप कहना क्या चाह रहे हैं? Are you saying this country of 135 crore people should be run according to the whims and fancies of any small group, or should it be run as per laws of the land?
No, it should be run by the democratic constitution. It should be run by the democratic constitution, and democracy must prevail. And today, the people of Shaheen Bagh has used their democratic right when the SDMC bulldozers illegally reached to the Shaheen Bagh. There is not a single illegal encroachment exists in Shaheen Bagh after
The bulldozer was not there illegally, but Gaurav Bhatia, was the bulldozer in Shaheen Bagh illegally? If it wasn't, why did it go back respond to Dr.
It was a photo opportunity for the media tonight. It was, yes. Okay. It has to go back because there was no illegal encroachment, and it was a photo opportunity provided to the national media to conduct the debates in the evening to defame Shaheen Bagh. That was the only reason that bulldozer came to Shaheen Bagh. Nothing more.
हमारे पास तो और कुछ है नहीं. आप लोग सुप्रीम कोर्ट चले जाते हैं. You know, Shaira Salim's party went to Supreme Court because they wanted to give us a reason for a debate in the evening. Amanatullah Khan sat in front of the bulldozer because he wanted to give us an opportunity to debate in the evening. The Congress party with 0 seats in the state and in the MCD sat over there and created such objections and talked about the fact that BJP is losing MCD elections because they wanted to give us a topic of debate in the evening. Ashutosh ji, I mean, I'm totally dumbfounded. हमारी इतनी चिंता है इनको कि सारी कायनात जुटी हुई है हमें एक टॉपिक ऑफ डिबेट देने के लिए. From Congress to Aam Aadmi Party to AIMIM to Dr Rahmani to CPM, everybody is working so hard to give us a debate topic in the evening. Ashutosh ji, respond to that.
अच्छा है ना, आपको कम से कम देर रात में टॉपिक मिल जाता है डिबेट करने के लिए, नहीं तो कभी कभी बड़ा स्ट्रगल करना पड़ता है, डिबेट का टॉपिक नहीं मिलता है। देखिए आनंद रंगनाथन मुस्कुरा रहे हैं, लेकिन मैं जो बीजेपी के प्रवक्ता उनसे एक चीज जानना चाहता हूं, ये जो एनक्रोचमेंट ड्राइव थी वो भारतीयों के खिलाफ थी, हिंदुओं के खिलाफ थी, मुसलमानों के एनक्रोचमेंट के खिलाफ थी, या फिर रोहिंग्या बांग्लादेशी के खिलाफ? क्योंकि जो बीजेपी के द प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ द बीजेपी इन दिल्ली, Mr. Adesh Gupta, writes a letter to MCD Commissioner where he says the illegal encroachment of Bangladeshi and Rohingya at Shaheen Bagh. So it doesn't mention about illegal encroachment by Indians, illegal encroachment by Hindus, illegal encroachment by Muslims. It has only problem and objection if illegal encroachment by Bangladeshis and Shaheen. Second point which I want to know, and I'm very worried today for the simple reason because the BJP leader, Mr. Kapil Mishra, who's a great leader in that sense, he has targeted his own prime minister and the government and saying that in India, under his presence and supervision, the mini Pakistanis are being created. So if the mini Pakistanis are being created and Bharat ka संविधान लागू नहीं होता, पुलिस वहां जा नहीं सकता, so it's a more a comment on our prime minister and under Mr. Gaurav Bhatia, when bulldozer was in Samajwadi Party, it was secular. It became more secular when it joins the BJP.
Respond, Gaurav Bhatia.
You know, journalism was good when this political analyst was a journalist and then he switched sides while being a journalist, joined a political party. दाल नहीं गली तो अब political analyst बन के और पार्टी की पैरवी करते हैं. But leave that aside. Personal barbs are not to be taken when you have substance. I would first like to say that look at the lies that is being spread on your channel. I have the judgment that my friend Anand ji was referring to, and the Honorable Supreme Court held very clearly. Please शांत भैया, शांत, दांत ना दिखाओ, शांत हो जाओ. नाविका प्लीज शांत हो कराओ. बेचारे आज दिहाड़ी नहीं मिलेगी अगर शांत नहीं हुए.
Mr. Modi,
please be quiet. You made a personal remark. I am responding to other panelists. You are not so important that I only have to respond to you.
I'm today worried today.
So you'll have to wait for your turn. Like
okay, Ashutosh ji, Gaurav Bhatia is responding to all your points. After that, you can rebut him. 1 minute. Yes, Gaurav.
Yes. So, Navika, let me expose the lies of Mr. Rehmani. Supreme Court judgment of Amit Sani versus Commissioner of Police regarding the Shaheen Bagh protest that took place. The Supreme Court stated this. They clearly said blocking public ways is illegal. Second, they said protests to be held in designated sites only, which wasn't done in the case of Shaheen Bagh. So my friend lies, and yes, the Shaheen Bagh protest was illegal and will remain illegal. The Supreme Court has decided. Second, there is no such thing as a poor encroacher, Muslim encroacher, or Rohingya encroacher. There is an encroacher. An encroacher could be a Rohingya doing two illegalities. Please be quiet. Mr. Rehmani Talibani, please be quiet. Your love for Taliban is known by all. Please listen to me, then you respond. The proud Shaheen Baghi, who was saying I'm a proud Shaheen Baghi.
Mr. Bajrangi, Sidhu border.
Bajrang Bali तो बहुत बड़ी बात है. अच्छा है.
Proud Bajrangi, tell me.
अच्छा, Navika, please ask him to be quiet.
Yes.
Let's not call each other Talibani, etc., etc. Let's stick to the topic of the debate. Let's stick to the topic of the debate. And Dr. Rehmani, your point about illegality borne out by the Supreme Court judgment. I hope you will, acknowledge that you tried to raise a victim card which didn't exist.
That's why I want to know that whether the Sidhu border was a designated place. Whether the Sidhu border was a designated place or it was an illegal place.
Dr. Anand Ranganathan. Dr. Anand Ranganathan. The question Dr. Rehmani is saying is Singhu border the designated place. No, it was.
Navika, thank you. Rahmani साहब, please, आप मुझे please 30 seconds दीजिए. बहुत unfair है. मैं आपकी बातें सुनता हूँ without interruption. पता नहीं लोग मुझे क्यों interrupt करते हैं. Please मत करिए. Thank you. Navika, have you noticed the subtle goalpost shifting? पहले ये कह रहे थे the blockade of Shaheen Bagh was not illegal. When I said Supreme Court deemed it illegal, now he shifted it to Singhu border. Even Singhu border was illegal. लेकिन वो बात नहीं है. बात यहाँ पे है illegality हुई कि नहीं हुई और आज हुई कि नहीं हुई. ये बात है. Let us stick to Shaheen Bagh. And as far as my good friend Ashutosh is concerned, I know he is a bit. मेरा नाम हमेशा लेते हैं आशुतोष जी. He is the only one on this panel tonight who is not using a hair dye. लेकिन आशुतोष, that should not be a reason for your ground. Let me say this. As far as mini Pakistans are concerned, the gentleman who said this, you should be answerable to him because he was your colleague in the same party. Number two, yes,
I do agree with you that Mr. Gaurav should answer this question. That if there are mini
Pakistans being created, and I asked him de facto, didn't I ask him, weren't you listening? I said,
yes,
why
if there are mini Pakistans, if there are Rohingyas and Bangladeshis, then demolition is not the way to go after them. There are other laws on which you need to go after them, Gaurav Bhatia.
Navika, the issue is, how come the Bangladeshis and the Rohingyas are still entering?
Can I respond?
Yes, he is responding. I've asked him the same question. Hold on, Ashutosh ji. Gaurav Bhatia, respond to these questions.
Can I please respond to
So
Gaurav
first
Bhatia,
I'll respond to what Mr. Ashutosh said. Okay. So, you know, till the time Narendra Modi ji is the Prime Minister, we all know that nobody can dare to even have 1 inch of a mini Pakistan in India. I make it very clear as the national spokesperson. But you know, Navika, what is objectionable? Mini Pakistan or Muslim dominated area is something like ghettoism. And what we saw during Khargon and Ram Navami processions, a section of the Muslim community came out to say, ये Muslim road है मस्जिद के बाहर की. We strongly object to that. And that is why I say when action is taken against illegal encroachment, it could be Rohingyas also committing 2 illegalities, entering the country illegally and they have to be deported. And second, if they are illegally encroaching also, that encroachment has to be removed. Now my friend Anand said,
the law is very clear and there are judgments of the courts which clearly say that the protests on the streets taking away rights of other common people cannot be allowed simply because these are illegal protests and blocking roads is illegal, whether it is at the Singhu border or whether it is in Shaheen Bagh. But the question tonight is, why does a demolition drive become something that's Hindu-Muslim? Why is it about a community? The law of the land is just that, the law of the land. And for parties like the CPM, which ran to the court to create a humanitarian crisis, to try and show the courts and the world that the government was going against one particular community, was shown the constitution by the Supreme Court. Forum shopping and just chest beating is not something that should be in accordance with the law of the land. And if the law of the land is just so important to all of these, this mobocracy cannot be the way this country is run, whether here or at the Gyanvapi Masjid in Banaras. The question is, if there is a court order, there are no 2 ways about it. It should be followed, it will be followed, because that's the way the law of the land functions. There are no communities, there are no rich or poor, because the law with the band on its eyes says it is equal for everyone. And it's time to remember that equality. Thank you very much to my panelists for joining me on debate number 1. On the other side, Modi says relook the sedition law as states across the country try to misuse it. That debate on the other side.